Ever met someone who seemed charming, only to later reveal a completely different side? Carl Jung, the pioneer of depth psychology, warned that true character isn't found in what people say, but in what they do when no one's watching. The mask slips in subtle, unexpected ways. Jung spent his life studying the unconscious, the hidden parts of our psyche that dictate how we really think and behave. He believed that our darkest and brightest traits lurk beneath the surface, only revealing themselves under specific conditions. So, if you want to see someone's true nature, don't listen to their promises. Watch for these 4 revealing signs, because actions, especially unconscious ones, never lie. 1. How they handle power. Carl Jung believed that power acts like a mirror. It reflects the parts of ourselves we often keep hidden. When someone gains authority, status, or control, their shadow self, the unconscious reservoir of repressed instincts and desires, rises to the surface. This is why you'll see some people transform under power. The kind become more generous, while the insecure grow tyrannical. Ask yourself, do they wield influence with grace, or does it corrupt them? A humble leader uplifts others, shares credit, and remains grounded. But someone with an unchecked shadow might suddenly become domineering, dismissive, or intoxicated by their own status. Jung's warning was clear. Where love rules, there is no to power, and where power predominates, their love is lacking. In other words, true strength isn't about control. It's about responsibility. History and daily life are full of examples. Think of the boss who mentors their team versus the one who belittles to feel superior, or the celebrity who uses their platform for good, while another exploits their fame. Power doesn't create character, it reveals it. So pay attention. The moment someone gets a taste of authority, their deepest traits, nobility or ruthlessness, will show themselves. 2. Their reactions under stress. Stress is the ultimate test of character, a psychological pressure cooker that forces our deepest instincts to the surface. Carl Jung observed that when people face adversity, their carefully constructed personas often crumble, revealing raw, unfiltered aspects of their psyche. This is because stress activates the shadow self, the unconscious reservoir of repressed emotions and unresolved traits we prefer to ignore. Watch closely. Do they take accountability or do they lash out? A person with emotional maturity will own their mistakes, adapt, and seek solutions. But someone controlled by their shadow will resort to defensiveness, denial, or even projection, the psychological defense mechanism where they blame others for their own shortcomings. For example, a stressed partner might deflect criticism with accusations, or a failing leader might scapegoat their team rather than reflect on their own missteps. Jung's insight was profound. The shadow is that hidden, repressed, for the most part inferior and guilt-laden personality whose ultimate ramifications reach back into the realm of our animal ancestors. In moment of crisis, this primitive side takes over. The key is to notice whether someone responds to stress with self-awareness or lets their shadow dictate their behavior. Because when the ego is threatened, the truth comes out whether they like it or not. 3. How they treat strangers or subordinates. One of the most revealing windows into a person's character lies in how they interact with those who can offer them nothing in return. Carl Jung placed great emphasis on unconscious behavior, those automatic, unguarded moments when social masks slip and the authentic self emerges. This is particularly evident in how someone treats waitstaff, service workers, or anyone in a subordinate position. These interactions expose what politeness in professional settings often conceals. True kindness is not a performance reserved for superiors or potential benefactors. It's a habitual way of moving through the world. Observe carefully. Does their warmth extend equally to the CEO and the janitor? Or is their charm selectively deployed for those they deem important? Jung would argue that how we treat those we perceive as beneath us reveals our relationship with our own shadow, the parts of ourselves we disown or look down upon. Someone who is genuinely empathetic doesn't discriminate in their compassion because their behavior flows from an integrated sense of self, not a calculated social strategy. The contrast here is stark. Charm can be turned on and off like a switch, often serving as a tool for manipulation or social climbing. But genuine empathy is consistent. It doesn't fluctuate based on what the other person can do for you. This is why Jungian psychology urges us to pay attention to these seemingly small interactions. They're anything but trivial. In the way someone speaks to a stranger, tips a delivery driver, or acknowledges a receptionist, you catch glimpses of their unvarnished humanity or lack thereof. The treatment of those with no power to reciprocate lays bare the soul's true condition for what they find funny. Humor is one of the most unfiltered expressions of the human psyche, a direct line to our unconscious biases, fears, and unexamined values. Carl Jung understood laughter as a psychological release valve, one that often discharges hidden aspects of our shadow self. The jokes someone laughs at or the comedic targets they choose can reveal more about their character than any carefully crafted self-description. There's a fundamental difference between humor that connects and humor that demeans. Light-hearted, inclusive comedy often reflects security and warmth, an ability to laugh at life's absurdities without needing to diminish others. But when someone consistently finds humor in mockery, especially at the expense of vulnerable groups, it exposes something darker. Are they laughing with others? Or at them? Do their jokes punch down at those with less power? Or do they skewer universal human foibles? Jung would argue that cruel humor often signals repressed hostility or unresolved insecurities, the kind that lurk in the shadow, disguised as just a joke. Consider the implications. A person who roasts friends good-naturedly but stops when boundaries are crossed shows emotional intelligence. Meanwhile, someone who doubles down on offensive jokes when challenged may be revealing a rigid, defensive ego, one that relies on belittlement to feel superior. Humor doesn't lie. It's a mirror reflecting what we truly value, fear, or scorn. And as Jung knew, the things that make us laugh uncontrollably often make us most uncomfortable when held up to the light. Carl Jung gave us a master key to human character, one that bypasses words and goes straight to the unconscious truths hidden in behavior. Let's revisit the 4 markers. Power reveals our relationship with control. Stress strips away pretenses. Treatment of strangers shows our default level of humanity. And humor betrays our deepest biases. Together, they form a blueprint for seeing people as they truly are, yourself included. Here's your challenge. Start observing these signs, not just in others, but in your own reactions. That moment you snap under pressure, the joke you laugh at a little too hard, the subtle way you interact with someone who can't help or hurt you. These are all clues to your own shadow. As Jung famously said, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. Self-awareness is the first step to growth, and growth begins with honest reflection. Now I'd love to hear from you. Which of these 4 markers surprised you the most? Was it how power changes people, or the way stress exposes hidden flaws? Drop your thoughts below. This is exactly the kind of conversation Jung would encourage. And if you found this breakdown eye-opening, don't forget to like and subscribe. Coming next, we're diving deeper into Jung's most fascinating concept, the shadow, where we'll explore how to confront the darkest parts of yourself, and why doing so might be the key to unlocking your fullest potential. See you in the next video.